Okay, we're talking autocrine, paracrine, hormones. That is the substances, prostaglandins basically is what we're talking about. These substances that help the body respond to the environment. The ultimate job, the most important function, most important role of the body is to maintain a stability, to maintain a certain constancy, and this ability to pull the ups down and the downs up and the highs low and the lows high, this ability to adjust and modulate in thermostat-like fashion to control the chemistry, almost like a thermostat controls the temperature in the body, is called homeostasis. Homeo meaning the same, homeo meaning the same as, and stasis meaning stability. So keeping things at a certain stability, to keep things the same. Homeostasis meaning to keep things the same. And this stabilizing system is controlled by hormones. That's the role of hormones. What we call hormones are nothing more than chemicals that keep the body stable, that keep things at a nice even keel. Body doesn't like things to go up really high or things to drop really low. By things I mean chemical secretions or electrical energy. It likes to keep things stable. It doesn't like things too hot. It doesn't like things too cold. It's like the Goldilocks principle. It likes things just so, and that's the job of hormones. Left to itself with no input from the outside, the human body can be thought of like a closed circle that runs perfectly and pristinely, like a perfect machine, like a perpetual motion machine that will always run perfectly and with no mistakes, left to itself. However, the body is not left to itself. It's not a closed system. There's things that get into the body. In fact, there's 9 different elements that have to be incorporated somehow into the body, that get into the body. Incorporated meaning assimilated into the body. Corp meaning the body. Corp, in the body. There's 9 different elements that have to get assimilated into the body from the outside. You've got our senses, what we see, what we hear, what we taste, what we feel, and what we smell. All of these somehow have to go into the body and get incorporated. Then there's oxygen, and then there's our mental input, the thoughts we think, and then there's emotional input, there's the feelings we feel, and then there's the most significant input, and that's the foods we eat. And that includes water, by the way, and other liquids. So you've got 9 different elements that get into the body. You've got things we see, things we hear, feel, taste, smell. We've got oxygen, we've got our thoughts, we've got our emotions, and then we've got food. And each one of these 9 elements, each one of these 9 inputs that get into the body, and by the way, when we say into the body, I mean into the blood, these 9 different elements that get into the blood. What we see gets into the blood. What we feel gets into the blood. What we hear, what we taste, what we hear gets into our blood ultimately. What we smell gets into our blood. Oxygen gets into our blood. Our feelings and our thought, these all get into our blood. But how do they get into our blood? How does a vision get into our blood? How does something that we hear or see or feel or think or taste, how does that get into the blood? Well, it gets into the blood via the action of chemicals called hormones. That's what a hormone is. A hormone is a chemical that translates a feeling into a language that cells can understand. A hormone is an element that translates food or a chemical from food into a language the cell can understand. A hormone is an element that turns oxygen into something that a cell can understand. So something gets into the body, 1 or more of these 9 elements, and then these elements are translated into something that the cell can understand. A cell can't understand a voice. It can't understand a smell, but it can understand a smell when it's been translated into a hormone. Or it can understand a feeling or a sight when it's been translated into a hormone. Do you think this makes hormones important? You better believe it does. They're the translators. They translate the outside world into a language that a cell can understand. A hormone is a chemical that translates one of these 9 elements into a chemical language that a cell can understand, and then in response, the cell, which is like a 3D printing machine, will then print something. So you see something, you hear something, you smell something, you eat something, you drink something, whatever, and then that sight or smell or food is translated into a hormone. That hormone can then be read by a cell or interpreted by a cell, and something will happen. That's what a hormone is. It's a translator molecule. It's a messenger molecule. It translates something from the outside world into something that the cell can understand. And there's various classifications of these translation molecules or hormones. They're the ones that are made in glands and that travel through the blood. Those are called endocrine hormones. Those are the ones most of us know about. Insulin and thyroid hormone and cortisol and these steroid hormones, testosterone, estrogen, these are all examples of hormones that are made somewhere and then travel in the blood. Made in a gland, travel in the blood. So you'll see something, and then the gland will respond, make a hormone, that hormone will travel through the blood, and then the cells will interpret the hormone and understand what we saw or what we felt. Then there's other hormones that just get secreted into various cavities in the body or even outside the body. Those are called exocrine hormones. Some of you may have heard of something called pheromones. Pheromones are so-called hormones of sexual attraction. They're actually not just sexual attraction hormones. They attract other people in various different ways. Insects are well known for making pheromones. That's how ants will communicate to each other, by squirting little exocrine hormones outside of their body, and then other ants will read these exocrine hormones and know where the sugar is or the jelly or wherever the picnic basket is, so to speak. And these don't travel through the blood. These get secreted right through a cavity, into a body cavity or outside the body. Then there's the ones that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. And these are very interesting hormones that come right out of a cell. Right out of a cell, and they can either do a U-turn and make the cell that secreted them do something, or they'll cause a cell that's a neighboring cell to do something. These are called autocrine and paracrine hormones. The most famous ones are the prostaglandins, the ones we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. And understanding these prostaglandins is a key element to understanding inflammatory and immune diseases. I'll tell you what I mean when we come back from our break. Okay, so we're talking about hormones. Everybody always talks about hormones. You hear the word hormones a lot, but what really is a hormone? Oh, a hormone is a chemical that translates the outside world into the inside world so that a cell can understand what's happening. There's 9 elements that get into the body, things we see, hear, taste, feel, smell, oxygen, thoughts we think, feelings we feel, and then food, as well as liquids or oxygen or water, which I consider to be part of food. One of these inputs gets into the body, gets translated into a chemical called a hormone. A cell reads that hormone and responds in a 3D printer-like fashion, cells being 3D printers. By the way, CNN.com has a really cool story on something called the Foodini, which is a 3D printing machine for food. Can you believe this? Now, I know I've been talking about it for a while, 3D printing machines. I'm blown away by 3D printing machines. I first heard about them maybe 6 or 7 years ago, and they sounded like science fiction then. Now you can get a 3D printer on Amazon or at Office Depot for $1,300. You can get a 3D printing machine. But guess what? In the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, you're going to be able to get a 3D printing machine that prints a hamburger or that prints a pizza. How do you like that? And I don't mean 3 or 4 years. They're already out. In prototype, anyway, a company, according to this article, a company in Dublin, Ireland, called Natural Machines, I think that's the name of the company, Natural Machines has introduced a 3D printer for food. It's called the Foodini. And it's like a regular 3D printer, except instead of printing plastics, it prints, I'm not kidding you, this is on CNN.com, it prints cheese, and it prints dough, and it prints a pizza, and it'll print a hamburger. This is the world we're moving into, folks. But guess what? The biological system has figured out 3D printing a long, long time ago, 3.5 billion years ago. The biological system, if you will, figured out 3D printing, and that's what a cell is. A cell is a 3D printer that responds to the environment via the actions of hormones, via the actions of the various hormones, whether they're endocrine, whether they're exocrine, or whether they're the ones we've been talking about for the last couple of days, the autocrine or paracrine hormones, of which the prostaglandins are the quintessential example. The thing about the prostaglandins is you can be deficient in them. And prostaglandin deficiencies are a real problem. How do you keep your prostaglandins from being deficient? Well, this is how you do it. You make sure you get the raw materials for building the prostaglandins. And the most significant, the most important raw materials for building the prostaglandins are your essential fatty acids, EFAs. Essential fatty acids like the ones that you get in the ultimate EFAs. If you ever wondered what are EFAs for, what do, they do a lot of things, but that's one of the main, if not their main purpose in life, is to be converted into prostaglandins. Now, prostaglandins are a type of fat. They're a type of fatty acid. In fact, I like to think of prostaglandins as an activated essential fatty acid. They're an activated version of our essential fatty acids. Both essential fatty acids and prostaglandins are long, long chains of carbon. They're just long chains of carbon that have these various kinds of properties. They have signaling properties. Prostaglandins signal or act like messengers telling cells what's happening in the outside world. The key point, the take-home message for us here is that deficiencies are real, deficiencies are associated with disease, and not only deficiencies, but balances or out of balances can be associated with diseases. And the balance and the quantity of prostaglandins is directly associated, directly linked to essential fatty acids and ultimate essential fatty acids. Remember the word essential here. Your body can't make them. This is why you want to make sure you're supplementing with the ultimate EFAs daily. 3, 6, 9, 12, 18. You can't really overdose on them. And especially if you're dealing with an inflammatory or immune condition, whether it's a skin inflammatory issue or whether it's an internal inflammatory issue, whether it's arthritis, whether it's any of the hundreds of different autoimmune diseases, whatever. Essential fatty acids are a must-have. They're a must-have for everybody. So prostaglandins are the key signaling molecules in the body. They're the chemicals that hit the switch on our 3D printing machines that we call cells. These prostaglandins initiate many of the activities of a cell, including how a cell moves and what a cell secretes, and opening and closing of blood vessels, and clotting and thinning of the blood. And these prostaglandins are not stored. Deficiencies are real. They have to be made consistently. They have to be made all day long and regularly, and they all come from essential fatty acids. They are a type of essential fatty acid. They're a type of essential fatty acid that's been somehow activated to perform these hormone-like functions. And by the way, this activation requires zinc. This activation requires the B vitamins, especially vitamin B6, and this activation requires vitamin C. So in addition to your essential fatty acids, in addition to your Mighty 90 essential nutrients, if you've got Sjogren's syndrome or type 1 diabetes or myasthenia gravis or any autoimmune disease or dermatitis or psoriasis or acne or any inflammatory disease of the skin, make sure you're using your ultimate EFAs. Make sure you're using your vitamin C and zinc and the B complex to activate the essential fatty acids to be able to be turned into prostaglandins. Prostaglandins play an especially important role in keeping the mucus layer on the digestive tract intact. This is why aspirin and Motrin and drugs that suppress prostaglandin production are notorious for causing digestive difficulties, for causing ulcers, for causing gastric bleeding. In fact, this is what accounts for many of the side effects and many of the deaths associated with prescription drugs. Aspirin, mere Motrin, mere non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like naproxen or Indocin or whatever the latest non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug that you're taking is. These drugs cause their side effects and really are a leading cause of death by drug via gastric bleeding and ulceration and digestive issues that are caused by suppression of this mucus lining in the digestive tract. What does that mean? Well, it means if you're going to take these kinds of drugs, get on your essential fatty acids too. If you're going to take Motrin every day, if you're going to use aspirin every day, make extra sure you're using your ultimate essential fatty acids as well as the Healthy Star Pack, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and get yourself on 50 milligrams of zinc as well. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. We're coming back with your phone calls right after this. Don't go away. All right, time to hit our phones, 855-660-4261. Let's go to Florida and welcome Anthony to The Bright Side. What's up, Anthony? How you doing, buddy?
How you doing, sir?
Doing good. What's going on?
Yeah, my sister told me about this. She told me to give you guys a call.
I got a little echo there, Anthony. Am I on speaker? If I am, give me a...
Yeah.
Okay, get off there because I got an echo.
Okay. Okay, my wife, she went in the hospital, and then to make a long story short, she did a test, and they ran tests and stuff, x-rays, and they said something about she had a small intestine was a bowel obstruction. It was just sitting there. It wasn't doing nothing. It just bouncing back, but it wasn't doing what it's supposed to be doing.
She's got an intestinal problem. Wait a minute. Hang on, Anthony. She's got an intestinal issue. The food is not moving correctly through the intestine. Is that what I'm hearing?
Hello?
Hi. Anthony, what happened to you? Anthony, what happened to your voice there?
Oh, no, this is Chante.
Oh, I got confused. I'm sorry. I thought somebody kicked him in the nether regions or something.
Oh,
all right.
No.
All right, I'm just teasing you. So, what's your name? Charmaine, did you say?
Chante.
Chante. Okay, so,
yes.
So food's not moving correctly through the intestines? Is that what I heard?
Well, I went to the doctor in March. I had pancreatitis. I went back to the doctor a couple of weeks ago, and they said that my pancreas was inflamed again, but they also say they found I I guess it was a bowel obstruction, the small intestine.
Okay, say no more. Say no more. We don't need to hear any more. You got a food problem. Okay? You have a food problem. The first thing you have to do is you got to figure out what kind of foods are causing this kind of distress. The only thing that gets into the intestines is food. Pancreatitis tells me that the pancreas is inflamed. Somehow food is not passing through from the stomach into the intestines correctly. When food leaves your stomach and goes into the intestines, the pancreas is supposed to squirt a big shot of enzymes and other chemicals into the intestine. But if things are backing up and they're not moving through the intestine properly, then the pancreas can become inflamed. So something's telling me that you either have a liver issue or you got a food issue or both. When the liver becomes clogged up, things will back up in the intestine. You may also have some kind of food that your body's not responding to as it should. So you got one of two issues going on: liver or a combination, liver toxicity or some kind of food intolerance, some kind of food digestion problem. So here's what you need to do. I don't know if you've heard me say this before, and I don't mean to bore anybody because I say it all the time, but I'll tell you again. Get a notebook. You want to write down every single food you eat, and then you want to write down how you feel every few hours after that. Now, chances are you're constipated, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that means that things are clogging up inside that digestive system. We got to get to the bottom of it, no pun intended there. We got to figure out what kind of foods are causing these problems, and you're not going to know it until you write everything down, okay? You got to write down every single thing you eat, and then how you respond after: bloating, gas, discomfort, constipation, anything. And then you're going to link those problems to foods, and then we're going to have you eliminate those foods. It's going to take you a couple weeks to get that kind of data. So spend a couple of weeks. Don't even bother changing your diet. Just spend a couple of weeks seeing how you're responding to foods. Just so you know, the most likely suspects are going to be what I call the GLED foods, G-L-E-D, which are grains of all kinds, not just gluten, all grains. All grains. And I'm not saying this is definitely it, but these are things that you want to start paying attention to. Grains, legumes, which include peas and beans and soy, eggs, and dairy. Now, it could be anything, but the GLED foods are the most likely suspect: grains, legumes, eggs, and dairy. But you just want to see what you're responding to and how you're responding to specific foods. That's step number one, gathering data. The second step is get yourself on the BioLumin Nightly Essence from Youngevity. You can call 866-735-2470, or you can go to my website, brightsideben.com, and order the BioLumin Nightly Essence, and you want to take 3 capsules in the morning and 3 capsules at night. And then from the same website, brightsideben.com, or by calling the Brightside Ben phone team, 866-735-2470, you want to ask for the Z-Radical. Z-Radical. I'm sorry, the Fucoidin Z. That's a little bit better for you. The Fucoidin Z. And Fucoidin Z, Fucoidan Z. 3 capsules in the morning, 3 capsules at night. And then get on the Healthy Start Pack and sip on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Make sure you're sipping on it. Don't take it all at once. Just make sure you're sipping on it. So you have 4 action steps here. Number 1, we got to get some data. You're going to have to figure out what foods are causing you distress. Number 2, get on the BioLumin Nightly Essence. Number 3, get on the Fucoidin Z. And number 4, get on the Healthy Start Pack, sipping on the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. And then what I'd like you to do, I'm sorry, what did you say, Chante? Chante? What I need you to do is call me back either on the radio here at 855-660-4261, or send me an email, ben@ksco.com, and put your phone number on there, and you and I will stay in touch, because you're going to be a work in progress. But we're going to get to the bottom of this. You're not going to need any doctors. You're not going to need any medicine. We're going to get to the bottom of this strictly using food and lifestyle strategies and nutritional supplements. Okay, ma'am?
Okay, thank you.
All right, God bless you. Good luck with everything. All right, let's move on to Francis in Texas. What is going on? How you doing, Francis? Welcome to the Bright Side.
I wish I could say great, but I'm not.
Okay, well, let's make you great then. We'll take care of everything. How you doing? Tell me what's going on.
Okay, I've had edema in my legs and feet for many years.
Okay. How old are you, ma'am? Roughly how old? 50s, 60s, 70s?
Now, I'm 67.
Okay. All right. You want to take care of your edema? It's easy.
Absolutely. I've had all kinds of tests.
Well, forget the test. You're wasting. They're using you like an ATM machine. They got to pay their mortgage. Yeah. That's the only reason. Yeah, I'm not going to. You don't need any tests. I'm not going to give you any tests, and I'm not going to charge you anything. I'm not going to take any money from you. I wish the doctors could say the same thing. They're using you for an ATM machine because they should know a lot better than that. They don't need any tests. A swelling in the legs, edema, is a sign of that your blood is not circulating correctly. You don't need a test for that. All right, it's just biology 101. Your blood is not circulating. Circulation means a circle. So your blood, It roughly goes in a circle from your heart, then all the way around, back to your heart, then all the way around, back to the heart. It's called your circulatory system because it makes a circle. Does that make sense so far?
Absolutely.
Okay. When that circle is somehow clogged up, when the blood is not making a circle correctly, fluid will start to leak out at the bottom part of your body. In other words, it's not making the return trip correctly. You don't need a doctor for this, and you don't need a test for this. This is just logical. You understand? It's plumbing. So you got the fluid makes a circle, but when the fluid doesn't go up on the upper part of the circle back to the heart, it kind of gets pulled down through gravity, and then the watery part starts to leak out of the vessels and starts to pool into your ankles and your feet and your legs. That's what's happening. All right. Now I'm going to tell you why it's happening here in a second, but I want you to understand how it's happening. Does that make sense? Did I explain that well?
Yes.
The blood's not making the circle correctly, so it's dropping down, and that's the swelling. And only there's no need. Only somebody who wants to exploit you needs to do a test for this. It's just logical. Now, the question then becomes, why is the blood not making that return trip correctly? Why is it? Why is the fluid not going up correctly? And there's several reasons for that. Number one, most importantly, is sticky blood. All right. Now you got to ask, why is the blood sticky? Right? Is that right, Francis? Are you with me?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I've never heard of that.
Well, I'm going to make you take a. You should have. I don't know why your doctors aren't telling you this. Hang tight, though, because I'm going to explain this, and I'm going to explain this for a lot of folks, because you're not alone here, Francis, when we come back from our break, so don't go away. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side on the Genesis Communication Network. We'll be back right after this. All right, we are back on The Bright Side. Let's see. Francis in Texas. Are you there, Francis?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so the blood is not making the return trip back to the heart. It's clogging up, or something's clogging up the movement of blood. That means sticky blood. Why does blood get sticky? Well, number one, the most important reason is blood becomes sticky as a manifestation of the stress response. This is one of the ways the body handles generic stresses, whether they're emotional stresses, mental stresses, psychological stresses, food stresses, whatever. So we got to figure out what's getting into your body that's causing this kind of stress response, and more than likely it's going to be something you're eating. Chances are you've been constipated for a long time. I'm not telling you this, I'm not picking on you here, Francis. I'm just telling you this is one of the main signs of the problem. Things get kind of sticky and cloggy in the body following toxicity, and oftentimes this involves some constipation issues. So you've got to figure out what you've been eating for 67 years or close to 67 years that's been causing this kind of distress. That's number one. Focus on food. Food gets into the blood. And if it's the wrong kind of food or food particles get into the blood, it can initiate this kind of stickiness, and that'll cause that pooling up of fluids in the bottom part of your body. Focus on food, number one. Do the same thing when I just talked to Chante earlier. Get a notebook and do a food diary. Focus on problem foods, Francis, and more than likely it's going to be something you've been doing for many, many years. Secondly, you want to get on the Biolumin Nightly Essence, which is a must-have for all digestive health issues. You call 866-735-2470. Telling you want the Biolumin Nightly Essence, 3 capsules in the morning, 3 capsules at night. Then you want to start using some blood thinning strategies. Digestive enzymes taken on an empty stomach can help thin the blood a little bit. You might want to use the ultimate enzymes and take 2 capsules in the middle of the day on an empty stomach. Vitamin E, 400 international units a day, has a nice blood thinning effect. And also omega-3 fatty acids, which you'll find in the Ultimate Essential Fatty Acids, and that's part of the Healthy Start Pack. That also has a blood thinning effect. There's also oxygenation, which has a blood thinning effect. Lack of oxygen can cause blood to become sticky. If you're not breathing correctly, and this happens over the course of time, our body starts to contract and we don't breathe correctly. Get on if you have a smartphone, get an app called My Calm Beat, or even if you don't want to use an app, just sit on the couch and practice slow, deep breathing. Number one, the clogging blood is a sign of lack of oxygen, and number two, the clogging blood can cause a lack of oxygen. So it's like a vicious circle. You get this downward spiral where you're not breathing correctly, you don't have oxygen, that clots the blood, and that causes even less oxygen delivery, and that causes more clotting and even less oxygen delivery. You got to break that cycle. So you sit on the couch and practice your deep breathing. The third strategy for keeping your blood moving correctly is to keep the sugar intake down. Sugar will cause sticky blood as fast as anything else. So weaning yourself off of fast-burning sugars, bread, pasta, potatoes, cereal, fruit juice, fruits, desserts, etc., is very, very important. And if you have a problem doing it, make sure you're getting more protein. Every time you feel like eating potatoes or cereal or bread, see if you can get yourself some more protein, as long as you're not having an allergic food intolerance associated with that protein. That's step number 3. So number 1, focus on digestive health, eliminate problem foods, use the biolumin nightly essence, etc. Step number 2, make sure you're getting enough oxygen, deep breathing. Step number 3, make sure you're stabilizing your blood sugar by avoiding foods that cause sugar spike, because sugar will cause clotting, sticky blood also. Then you want to start to strengthen the heart and strengthen the movement of blood, and there's lots of nutrients that do that. The B vitamins are especially important, and all your electrolytes, potassium and calcium, etc. You'll find all of those in the Healthy Start Pack. So along with your biolumin nightly essence and along with your ultimate EFAs, to make sure you're getting on the Healthy Start Pack, sipping on your Beyond Tangy Tangerine. You can call 866-735-2470 to get all of those products. And then the last step, and it's not last because it's the least important, but it's the last one I'm going to tell you. You got to move your body around, Francis. As long as the body is not moving around, the blood and the lymph, which is connected to the blood, are going to stagnate and pool up. So if you can get yourself a little mini rebounder, mini trampoline, and jump on the trampoline for 1 minute, 60 seconds a day, or 60 seconds twice a day, that can have a significant beneficial effect on moving the blood and the lymphatic system around. And then also, if you can just if you don't want to spend money on it costs you about $60 to get one of those mini rebounders. But if you don't want to spend the money on doing that, just walk up and down the stairs. Do a brisk walk up the stairs and a brisk walk down the stairs once or twice a day, just to keep the circulatory system and the lymphatic system moving. So there's lots of stuff you could do there, Francis, and none of them require a doctor, none of them require any kind of testing, and none of them require surgical procedures. But that's the good news. But the bad news is, Francis, this is very, very important, because you're running higher risk for all kinds of awful cardiovascular health issues, including strokes and heart attacks, and that's nothing you ever want to have happen. So God bless you, ma'am. You don't need a doctor for any of this. You could do it all yourself, okay?
Thank you.
God bless. Have a beautiful day. All right, let's go to Tera in NC, North Carolina. What's up, Tera? How are you doing? And you and Baby Harmony. I think that's you. Isn't that you, Tera?
Yes, it's me.
How's it going? How can we help you today?
It's going good. I wanted to ask, how did the talk go in Tulsa?
Oh, it was awesome. Thank you for asking. Don't you live in Oklahoma, don't you? Or you're in North Carolina? But
yeah, we're North Carolina, but we're from Oklahoma.
You're from Oklahoma. That's right. Oh, I love Tulsa. Love, love, love Tulsa. One of my favorite places to go, and the talk went well. Thank you for asking.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
What's going?
So right now we are dealing with possibly a UTI.
For
Harmony
baby?
has one. Yes.
Okay. Baby Harmony's got long-standing digestive issues. She had eczema too, didn't she?
Yeah.
Right? She's got some long-standing digestive stuff going on. UTIs, urinary tract infections, are oftentimes caused by problems with the so-called microbiome. Is that Baby Harmony saying hello to me? Hello, yeah. Baby Harmony. Hi, Baby Harmony. UTIs for babies or for adults need to be linked to the microbiome, which is gut bacteria probiotics. So, number one, you want to make sure she's using probiotics. She should be using probiotics, and she can get on the root beer belly, or which is tasty and good for kids. Some kind of liquid probiotic for the child. If you can get her to drink miso soup or some kind of liquid fermented foods, fermented beet juice or something like that, that would help her as well, although it's tough to get babies to do that. The next thing is, if she's got any kind of food intolerances, you got to focus on those and eliminate problem foods. She's not breastfeeding any longer, I take it, correct?
No, she still is.
Oh, she is still breastfeeding. How are you doing? Because your breast milk is going to, if you have digestive issues or you have any kind of food imbalances or food intolerances, that's going to affect your breast milk, and that will affect the baby as well. So you're going to have to do this all for yourself in addition to doing it for the baby. In fact, you should be doing it for yourself. If you're not on the biolumin nightly essence, get on it, Tara. It's very, very important for both you and the baby. And then also, if you have any food intolerances or food allergies, you need to correct those. Both very important for you and the baby. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, we are on probiotics.
Which one? What are you on? Which one?
I'm on biolumin nightly essence.
Okay, good.
And I've been taking Jordan Rubens.
Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. Are you noticing any differences in your health, in your digestive health, in your skin health?
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah, I look good.
Now what you want to do now? Now what you want to do is you want to start to increase the dose until you see where you stop having benefits. In other words, this is called functional dosing. So you keep upping your dose of Jordan Rubin's products as well as the Biolumin Nightly Essence until you find a place where you don't notice any more benefit, and then stop at that point. If you're not on the Healthy Start Pack, get on the Healthy Start Pack. And if you're not on the Fucoidan Z, get on the Fucoidan Z. In fact, you might want to even give Baby Harmony a little bit of Z-Radical, and a little bit. You don't need to give her very much. That can also help balance out the microbiome, and it has some nice positive effects on the urinary tract as well. Most important, though, is for you to get some Fucoidan Z as well. In addition to the Biolumin Nightly Essence, in addition to watching out for food allergies and food intolerance, this is all for you now. Make sure that you're using the Fucoidan Z, and you might want to give Baby Harmony a little bit, and she'll like the taste of the Z-Radical. It is a little bit sweet, so don't give her too much of that, but that can have a beneficial effect on urinary tract infections. And a couple other things that you might want to consider for yourself, and then this will pass through your breast milk, is something called mannose, M-A-N-N-O-S-E, which is a type of sugar that bacteria hate. Urinary tract bacteria, E. coli, hate mannose. It can kind of slime the mannose away from the the E. coli away from the urinary tract. And then also Lugol solution, a drop or two in water, and you drink that once or twice a day. That can have a beneficial antibiotic effect, killing the bacteria inside the E. coli inside the urinary tract. So foods, Z-Radical and Fucoidan Z, Lugol solution, and then a mannose may help you as well. Those are some choices for you for urinary tract infections. Does that help?
Well, I was wondering, can I give that to Harmony? Because she's the one who has it.
No, you're going to pass it through your breast milk. I'd be careful what you gave her. If she's just breastfeeding, it'll all pass through your breast milk. Got to move, Tara. That's the end of the program. Thanks for calling, though. Hope everything works out. God bless you. All right, that's all the time we have for today. Apologize for leaving you on hold. If we did, please call back on our next Brightside episode. Tell our call screener we left you on hold, and we'll get you first up. If you are interested in joining the Brightside Ben team, love to have you as a member. 866-735-2470 is the phone number for the Brightside Ben phone team. Tell them you want to join the team for a one-time $10 fee. You can start a longevity business and join me in my mission to educate the world about the power and importance of a good nutritional supplement program. Thanks for listening, folks. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Have an awesome, spectacular, beautiful day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.